April 14th, 2005 is a day I'll never forget. You see, I found myself in a strange situation. I was in Syracuse, New York. It was late at night. I was in a parking lot all by myself, probably not the best part of town, and I was walking around talking on my cell phone. And when I hung up, I went to put the phone back in my pocket, and I noticed kind of out of the corner of my eye, someone was approaching me from behind, and they were moving pretty quickly. An hour later, I was in the hospital, missing my cell phone, but with a newly acquired broken jaw. And the thing that sucks the most about getting your jaw broken, it's not the pain, although that does hurt. The worst part is how you fix a broken jaw. You see, you have to get your mouth completely wired shut for 4 to 6 weeks. I'm talking, you can't even open your mouth by this much. And when I heard this, I kind of freaked out. And I told the doctor, this might work for some people, but it's not gonna work for me. I just can't do it. See, I felt claustrophobic. The first idea I thought of was, what if I get sick, I throw up, I can't open my mouth, so I choke and die? And the doctor kind of just smiled and he said, that's nothing to worry about because you're gonna carry around a pair of wire cutters with you. So if you do choke on something, you can just cut the wires out and you'll be good to go. So I kind of relaxed a little bit, and then I thought, well, if my mouth is wired shut, what am I gonna be able to eat? And the doctor had that covered too, and he gave me a book called Dinner Through a Straw. And this book was fascinating. It had recipes like the peanut butter and jelly sandwich smoothie, which kind of is what it sounds like. You take 2 pieces of bread, some peanut butter, some jelly, a glass of milk, you put it in a blender, and you drink that. And as tasty as that sounds, it wasn't for me. So I kept flipping through this book, and I came across another interesting recipe. This one was called, I think, the meatloaf shake or something like that. And I'm not kidding, this is a real book, this is a real recipe. And this one is, again, what it sounds like. You took everything that you used to make normal meatloaf, except you put it in a blender, you hit blend, and you drink this concoction with a straw. And as soon as I read this recipe, I kind of instinctively reached for my wire cutters because I thought I was gonna be sick. There was something so disgusting and repulsive to me about the idea of drinking blended up meat that I just couldn't do it. And I actually ended up not making anything from this book, but 30 days passed by quickly enough, and I was eventually able to get the wires removed. And I think I was in Minneapolis at the time. I'd been traveling around, and a whole group of friends, we went out to eat to celebrate me getting these wires removed and my first meal back. So we go to this restaurant, and I get to order my favorite meal, which is a bacon cheeseburger. 19 years old, this is my favorite meal. So I order this bacon cheeseburger, it comes out, and keep in mind, I literally just got these wires removed from my mouth like an hour ago. So for 30 days, I hadn't opened up my mouth at all. So I can open up my mouth about this much, maybe like 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Not very wide, so I can barely eat this thing. And I've got some pictures of this day, so you can see me squishing down this burger, make it as small as possible. Here I am trying to put just a little piece of this burger into my mouth. But as soon as I do, it marks the end of my first 30 days as a vegetarian. And I like this story because I learned a few things from this. Number 1, if a big guy comes up to you and tells you to give him your money, don't take your eyes off him. And if you've got some money, it's probably a good idea to give it to him. And number 2, which is kind of the point of this video, is that most real lasting changes don't happen overnight. And here's what I mean by that. How does someone go from an unhealthy, standard American diet to a healthy, cruelty-free vegan lifestyle? How does that change happen? Does someone just hear the facts and then they switch like that? Well, no, that's not how most change happens. It's more like a seed is planted, and this idea continues to grow and grow and grow in their mind until it's something they incorporate in their life and daily living. There's a process, there's steps involved, and that first step is awareness. In order to get someone from point A to point B, it helps if they know what point B is. And so there's a lot of people that have never heard the term vegan before, or if they've heard it before, they might not know what it is. I know that was the case for me for most of my life. I'd heard about it, but I didn't really know what it meant. And this first step, the importance of it is often overlooked, but it can literally mean the difference between someone learning about it and kind of saying, okay, cool, good for you, and someone else who learns about it for the first time and is violently opposed to the idea, wants nothing to do with it, and will probably never go vegan. And here's an example. Let's pretend that you've never heard the word garden before, or you don't know what a garden is. And you go to your friend's house and he's all excited because he's got a garden in his backyard. And he's gonna show you what it's about, what a garden is, what it's like. And you go in his backyard and you see just this abundance of plants growing everywhere. It's all green everywhere. And he gives you some seeds so you can start your own garden if you want. You can plant them. Are you going to plant them? Well, that would depend. What is your friend growing? If your friend's garden just consists of poison ivy, well, chances are pretty high you're not going to want to use them. You want nothing to do with these seeds. And you probably don't want to hang out with your friend anymore because he's kind of weird. If someone's first exposure to veganism is getting paint dumped on their fur jacket, or flour thrown at them, or a pie in their face, or being called a murderer for walking into KFC or McDonald's, or just hearing about these things happening, chances are pretty high that they're not going to want to go vegan. They probably want nothing to do with these mean, crazy animal rights activist people. They want nothing to do with this poison ivy. But what if the story was different? What if instead of growing poison ivy, your friend had a backyard full of organic, delicious fruits and vegetables? Would you be more likely to plant those seeds? And what if on top of that, your friend was so happy with this garden, he was healthy and he was living this incredible life? Would you be even more likely to plant those seeds? And just like a garden doesn't grow overnight, neither does a change in diet or a change in lifestyle happen overnight. There's a number of steps after awareness, from curiosity to learning more to taking action to owning the decision to incorporating it in your life. But all this is only possible if that first seed is a good one. And that's why vegans, if we really want to help others, if we really want to help animals, if we really want to increase the peace on Earth, we've got to strive to always do our best to be that good seed, to have qualities in our life that others can look up to and want in their life as well. Forcing an idea on someone just isn't effective. But being the best you that you can be, living a life that radiates peace, compassion, kindness, health, respect, that's going to be effective. You know, I never thought that I would be vegan. But fortunately for me, my first exposure to it was a positive one. Kind of in a weird twist, the girl who took those photos of me eating the bacon cheeseburger, Teresa, was the first vegan that I knew. And she didn't try and force her ideas on me. But I learned what veganism was about from her. And eventually I got a little more curious about it. And when I read an article about how going vegetarian would increase your energy, I was open to the idea of giving it a 2-week trial. And so 2 weeks go by, I didn't eat any meat. And I order my favorite meal, bacon cheeseburger. I go out to celebrate this 2-week trial. And it's on my plate, this bacon cheeseburger. But something's different this time. Something inside of me had changed. And I looked down at this burger sitting on my plate, and I couldn't eat it. And since that day, I've never eaten meat. I just can't. There's something inside of me that changed. Something happened. And a few months after that, I read The Food Revolution and went vegan. Do you see how this worked? That it was a process, that it was an evolution. I went from never thinking I would be vegan to where I am today, living this lifestyle, talking about it, sharing it with others. And I've seen the same process take place in other people as well. But I've also seen people get discouraged, saying, I can't get my family to change. I can't get my friends to change. Why don't they just see this? And we have to realize that this isn't the way to go about it. We can't expect other people to change just because we see something. But it also doesn't mean that we just lay back and don't talk about it at all. But there's a difference between criticizing someone for what they're doing and connecting with them, relating to them, finding some common ground where we can help each other and share our ideas with each other in a peaceful, respectful, kind way. You know, get creative with it. We have parties at our house. We post them on meetup.com and we get 30 or 40 people here. Everyone just brings a plate of fruit. We have a lot of fun. I don't know half the people there. A lot of them aren't vegan or vegetarian, but we have a good time and everyone always leaves with a new friend, a new connection. They learn something new. And eventually it gets to the point where you don't have to necessarily talk to people about this. You don't have to spread these ideas. Eventually people see what you're doing and they want to follow your actions. They want to do what you're doing. And this reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. and it's by Osho, and I want to read it to you. He says, "A man of peace is not a pacifist. A man of peace is simply a pool of silence. He pulsates a new kind of energy into the world. He sings a new song. He lives in a totally new way. His very way of life is that of grace, that of prayer, and that of compassion. Whomsoever he touches, he creates more love energy. The man of peace is creative. He is not against war, because to be against anything is to be at war. He is not against war, he simply understands why war exists. And out of that understanding, he becomes peaceful. Only when there are many people who are pools of peace, silence, and understanding will the war disappear." And the first time I read that quote, I was like, man, that's what I want to be like. I wanted to radiate compassion and peace and understanding. I wanted to live a life where I was conscious of the decisions I was making, that I strive to always do my best. And if you're watching this video and you have similar goals to that, the world needs more people like you. The world needs more people to be the start of something good. If you like this video, please share it with others, comment, subscribe, and in my next video, I'm going to be sharing a story about what's possible. So I'm excited to share that video with you, and I'll talk to you soon.